Hey, YouTube. Back again. I know I've been missing in action for a minute. Let me get this camera straight. Relax. Okay. Had a wonderful day today and just thinking in my mind. Y'all know how I be thinking in my mind. It's just, it's like I'm as old as I am. I'm, 67. And I'm just now remembering my life and me and what I'm doing and how my thoughts flow. It takes a lifetime to figure yourself out, but I'm getting better at it. Today, I want to talk about this book. This is a book that really changed my life, and I'm surprised I haven't talked about it before. But let me show you the cover of it. Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda. And a total stranger gave me this book in the late 80s. It was when I first got my upholstery shop downtown, the actual building. I think it was about a 7,000 square foot building, big building. And the owner of the building was having some work done. And it was this young white man. Well, he might have been my age, because I think I was in my 40s then. And he would, do his work, and I did my work. And there was another white lady there. She would sing all the time. She had a beautiful voice. And one day she came in and she said, "Mary, if I sing, will you preach?" And I kind of laughed. I said, how in the world she know that I used to be a preacher? And I was just laughing. I said, "Yeah, I'll preach, but you may not like what I would talk about." So the young man, he said, "Mary, I don't want to be too presumptuous, but I have a book for you." And he gave me this book. He said, "This book will change your life." And it was really the first book that I read that, I had a free will to read it, because the rest of them were things you had to do for school and do book reports and things. So I accepted the book, and the man finished his job working at the building, and he had a little dog with him, and he went on about his business. And one day I said, "Well, let me read this book to see what he's talking about." And, you do the forward about the book, and come to find out it's about an Indian guy that was a guru and yogi. And it talked about his life when he was younger and what he wanted to be. And it was interesting, very interesting. But I just couldn't believe I found it interesting. But I kept reading, and every time I say, "Oh, I'm not going to read it anymore," but something just kept drawing me to finish the story. And it was very, very interesting. And one thing would lead to another one after I finished this book. But I got more books about his life, and this man had a lot of supernatural things that happened to him in his lifetime. And I'm sitting there saying, could that be real? And these people live in the other part of the world, and they experience miracles, and they pray to a God that's not the God that I pray to. But somehow when you're reading his life story, you believe what he's saying is true. And the people in America welcome this man. You get a chance, look him up, Paramahansa Yogananda. Very, very interesting man. And I think was in his 50s when he died, but he knew that he was going to die. He was in America giving lectures, and that about 4 days before he died, he told his team members that he was going to die soon. And they just said, it's just not going to happen. He'll die in India, in his homeland. That's where he'll die. He's going to die. But this man, Paramahansa, was on stage giving a lecture. And about midway the lecture, he looked up into the ceiling, and he raised his hand. And this man fell dead on the floor. And they ended up burying him in America. And I guess his crew and his family knew that's what he wanted to do, but he knew exactly when he was going to die. But this book, it may sound silly or whatever, but this was the first book that I read that wasn't pertaining to the Bible. Because when I was reading it, it was like, ooh, this is what you call it when you blaspheming against my teachings, against God. But the book was interesting. Now, another person would attempt to read the book and get nothing out of it. But this opened the door to the path that I'm on now. And from the time I finished this book, I spent my time in the library. We had a used bookstore. I can't think of it. The name of that bookstore. Everybody has them. Where you buy your books. Hey, that's it. Half price bookstore. Sure it is. And it was just such a cozy place. It had hardwood floors and stairs, and I would go there in the daytime. It wasn't even noon. I would be there and get books, and I found myself reading them while I was there because I had so many of them. And then when I decided it's time to go, it would be dark. So Half Price Bookstore became my best friend and companion and company keeper then. But this book made me want more and more of wisdom from the Eastern part of the world, because where we are Western, it's just Christianity, and that's it. We're indoctrinated in that. But this, I am just so happy that I found another avenue or another cave to get my mind out of bondage. And half the time when you're in bondage, you don't even know you're in bondage, because I was just such a fanatic when it came to Christianity. It was ridiculous because we were raised in a Church of God in Christ, and you had to go and witness. It wasn't Jehovah's Witness, but we had to go and witness people. And the pastor would try to groom us to do these things. We would go to different churches that didn't baptize in Jesus' name or didn't have a 7-day Sabbath. We were taught to go in these churches and break up their services. And, you stand up like you're going to give a testimony, and then at the end of your testimony, you would condemn them for what they were doing. And here I am, 16 years old, doing this, trying to get brownie points from the pastor. And I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was a fanatic about doing the wrong thing and didn't know it. And I'm so glad that I was able to see my way out, because I didn't see it until after my mother passed, the way the members of the church did my mother. And then the pastor had a child out of wedlock, and I'm sitting at the pastor's funeral, sitting there, and I was what you call a backslider, but I knew this man all my life, so I'm sitting there and looking at the obituary, and I look at the cover, and the lady I'm sitting next to, had been drinking, and you could smell the alcohol on her. And I said, wow, let's call this boy Roger Lee. I said, well, what is Roger Lee picture doing on the front of this obituary? And the picture was of a boy like 17, but it looks just like Roger Lee. And the girl sitting next to me, she elbowed me in my side real hard. She said, girl, don't everybody know that Roger Lee is the good bishop's baby? You know it. And then I looked at the picture. I said, well, God, whoever did the obituary, didn't they see that they were exposing the pastor by putting his picture when he was younger on his obituary? Maybe they didn't see it, but I saw it. You say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And now I'm sitting there, begin to figure stuff out. I said, wow. But that's my fault. I put these people on a pedestal, and they let me down. And I left the church after that. It's like, man, they telling you you're going to go to hell for everything, and they doing everything. So I had kind of left the church alone, but I I got into some things I shouldn't have gotten into, like drugs and stuff, but I always worked hard. But I'm so thankful that I knew God when I was young, a very young age. And when my mother was giving me, I don't know, introducing me to God, her God, I would sit there and just be puzzled. I say, this sounds like the God that I know. But then when she said, if you don't do what he says, he'll put you in hell and you'll burn in the bottomless pit forever and ever. And I said, oh God, this can't be the God that I know. And she said, I want you to learn and find out about Jesus and what you have to do. And since that time, I wanted to know this God she was talking about, but I realized you had to tiptoe around this God, this big bad ogre, and don't disturb him, don't mess up, and because he will kill you. So after she died, it was like the covering fell off me, the chains and things. I said, now I can get reacquainted with the God that I've always known. So this book by Paramahansa Yogananda, this brought me back to the beginning when I knew God. I came here knowing God, and I'm not being boisterous or anything, but it's just what you know and what you remember. I have just a vivid memory of my life when I was younger. And my brother, my oldest brother, he said, I don't understand why you remember these things. You wasn't but 2 years old. You're not supposed to know all that. But I just do. And I remember being acquainted with God at that age. So I'm so happy right now that I understand that who God is. And it's me. It's been me all the time. Because I've always heard a voice when I was a kid. And it was a woman's voice. But I didn't realize how I sounded until I listened to myself on a recorder. And I said, oh, is that the way I sound? And I finally figured out, I said, that's the same voice that I hear in a gut feeling. And it tells me, don't go through that red light. Don't go over their house. You go straight home. Those kind of, not so much as a warning, but just giving me guidance. And some occasion it was a warning. But I finally found out that that was my voice. It's been my voice all the time. And I began to understand when Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice, and a stranger they won't follow. And when I think about that, that voice is my voice, and that's not a stranger's voice, because if I had heard a stranger's voice, like say somebody I never heard, or a Japanese person telling me not to do stuff, I would say, what in the world, am I going crazy? Why I'm hearing somebody else's voice? So that was calming for me to hear my own voice. Hold on a minute. Sonny, wake up. She's having a bad dream over here. Poor baby, having a nightmare. But this book, I got off track, but this book, when I think about it, and he's a beautiful man. Beautiful man. But this is the book that opened my mind. I'm gonna get off here and wake her up, because she's just hiccuping and making these, I guess some other dog is chasing her or something. But anyway, go out and get this book. And get any book, whatever book is for you to lead you out. Because I used to go, after I got, that man gave me this book, I would go to Half Price Bookstore and just kind of, sometimes I wouldn't find any jewels, and I would be on my way out the door, and a book would fall off the shelf right at my feet. It's like, whoa, not off the shelf, off a table. And it'd be the book that I need. So whatever you need, you're going to get it, okay? But anyway, I got to say bye for now. My sinuses are messing up. But anyway, y'all have a good one, okay? Bye-bye.